Books, books. I like books. I'm gonna read them all.
Hi readers, Chris here. Welcome to my channel where I review fantasy, Stephen King, all sorts of books, and today I'm going to be talking about Violet Made of Thorns by Gina Chen. Before I say anything, can we just talk about how gorgeous this book is? This cover, yes, this is an Owlcrate edition. If you've been around for a while, you'll know I've been pretty hard on Owlcrate boxes. A lot of their YA fantasies are all the same. There's a young girl, there's romance, blah, blah, blah. But I actually really liked this one, and I'm going to tell you why. First, a quick setup. Yes, this is a YA fantasy, and we have a young girl. Her name is Violet, and she is a prophet. So she has the ability to see the future. She's kind of plucked from obscurity from the streets when she was a young girl, and now she works in the palace. She lives in a tower, and she provides her services for the royal family and the members of the court. Now, the king has a son, a prince, who Violet kind of clashes heads with. Of course, he's very handsome, but they pretty much hate each other in the beginning of the book, and Prince Cyrus has kind of vowed to get rid of Violet once he comes to power, once he marries. So the king approaches Violet, and he basically tells her he wants her to manifest this prophecy for his son so that his son marries who he wants him to marry. So Violet kind of has to decide if she wants to deceive the prince or not, and her prophecy may or may not unleash a curse. She kind of has to decide what the right thing to do is, what her destiny is, blah, 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 blah. And it sounds, I feel like, simple the way that I'm describing it, but let's talk about it a little bit more in depth. So I'm going to start with kind of the world building of this world. And the one thing that I want to mention up front is that if you are a fan of fairy tales, like classic fairy tales, Disney fairy tales, you will really like this one because there are shades of a whole bunch of fairy tales in this book. There are shades of Rapunzel because Violet lives in this tower and she's all alone in this tower. She's not really supposed to leave. So there's a little bit of a Rapunzel thing in there. There's also a lot of Sleeping Beauty in here. There are fairies in this world, and the fairies come and they bless children with little gifts, just like the fairies did to Princess Aurora. There's also a ball that has an unwelcome guest that very much gave me like Maleficent vibes, the way she crashes the party. So there's a little bit of that going on. There's also Cinderella in here as well. There's this one scene where like Violet has this prophecy that something is going to happen at midnight, and all these things kind of unfold that very much has like a Cinderella vibe to it. And there's some Beauty and the Beast in here as well, with Violet kind of being the beauty and then Prince Cyrus kind of being the beast. He's not like physically a beast, but the way that he treats Violet is very beastly, and their relationship I found really entertaining because yes, it is a romance like there is one in every YA fantasy, but their romance is very much an enemies to lovers type situation. And when I say that they're enemies, like they are true enemies. This isn't like a one of those like, oh, they're enemies, but they really love each other. No, they are like legit enemies. And I really love the anger and the hate between them. And even when they start to develop romantic feelings, like that enemy, that stuff doesn't go away. Like there is this undertone of them just really disliking each other. And I thought that was quite a refreshing change. Now let's talk about our main character, Violet. And again, it's really hard, I think, in these YA fantasies to have a female character that is different because a lot of the times they're all the same. But I really like Violet because, one, she's not a perfect human being. She's not a girl who like always does the right thing and thinks the right things. Like, no, that is not Violet. Like, she has been on her own her entire life. So she has to be very scrappy and resourceful, and she has to look out for herself because no one else is going to do that for her. And sometimes that leads her to make decisions that are selfish and may not be the most like morally acceptable, but she does them because that's who she is and that's how she's lived her life. And again, that doesn't make her a bad person. It just means that like she's looking out for herself. Again, I found that very refreshing. Number two, she has this power, this ability, and she could use it for like really bad things if she wanted to. Like, she could use it, but I feel like she has a really good grasp on how to use her power, how to use it to manipulate people to get what she wants, how to use it to help others. Like I said, she's not a bad person. She does use her power for good. But I think as a young person, and especially a young girl, like, she's actually quite mature when it comes to her powers and how she uses them, which again, I thought was very refreshing. A lot of times in stories like this, you either get the like, oh my God, I have this power and I don't know how to use it, or like, I have so much power, I'm gonna burn the world down. But I think Violet does a really good job walking the line. She is very self-aware. She knows how to use her powers. And again, I found that all very refreshing. And then the last thing I'll say is the plot. Yeah, I found the plot of this book really fun. Again, it has all of those fairy tale references and vibes. And as the story starts to unfold, as all the little fairy tale things start to happen, I love that stuff. I'm a huge fan of the Disney princess movies. I'm a huge fan of classic fairy tales. So all of that stuff worked for me and I really, really, really enjoyed it. So just to recap, what I liked about this book is all of the fairy tale references that really, really worked for me. I really liked Violet as a main character, as someone who is both mature and not perfect, flawed at the same time. And I actually really liked the romance in this book. I love the conflict between Violet and the prince. I love that they are enemies to lovers and that they are true enemies, and they kind of remain true enemies throughout the course of the book. Again, I found all of that really refreshing and a nice change from some of the other YA fantasies that I've read this year. So that is all for me today. Hopefully, if you are a fellow fairy tale lover, I would definitely recommend this one. So if you haven't read A Violet Made of Thorns, go and check it out. So that is all for me today. So now I want to know from you, have you read A Violet Made of Thorns? Do you have a favorite fairy tale, either classic fairy tale or Disney princess movie? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments section below. And as always, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not already, please subscribe to my channel for more bookish stuff coming your way soon. All right, everyone, happy reading.